How terrifying is the life of a lawyer specializing in high-profile cases? A keyball conglomerate erupts in scandal. The names of involved political figures are dragged through the mud. He Yi, from the prestigious SK law firm, takes on the case. In court, he fiercely spars with the prosecutor, dismantling their evidence piece by piece, leaving them speechless. Ultimately, the keyball is declared innocent. The public is outraged, convinced that money bought the verdict. After the trial, He Yi shakes hands with Lai Haidong, the acquitted keyball, reminding him to maintain a contrite public facade. Back in his car, He Yi scrolls through online comments, a hive of angry posts condemning a corrupt legal system that only works for the rich. He revels in the discontent, seeing these comments as markers of his victory. He even plays a celebratory song, swaying to the music in self-congratulation. Soon after, He Yi takes on the divorce case of Ha Chan-ho. The case was originally assigned to Masak Gu, but Chan-ho specifically requested He Yi due to his reputation. After work, He Yi changes clothes and heads to a laundromat. He loads his shirt into a washer and, while waiting, appraises a woman reading a book before turning his attention back to work. The next day, He Yi, who comes from a family of lawyers, assures Chan-ho that he can secure custody of his children without having to divide his assets. Chan-ho is overjoyed at the prospect of his 2.5-year legal battle ending quickly. On a rainy night, He Yi returns to the laundromat. The woman is there again, engrossed in her book. He Yi pretends to read, stealing glances at her. Suddenly, the power goes out. The woman, Jia Mia, turns on her phone's flashlight, illuminating her face as she watches the rain. She initiates a conversation with He Yi. The lights come back on shortly after, and Jia leaves, seemingly forgetting her book. He Yi picks it up to look at it, just as Jia returns for it, drenched from the rain. She declines his offer of an umbrella. Following this encounter, He Yi frequents the laundromat at the same time, but doesn't see her. He finally spots her leaving one day, but by the time he catches up, she has driven away. As He Yi recounts this near miss to a colleague, a former colleague, Yu Mai, approaches him seeking representation in her own divorce case. He Yi is dismissive, bluntly stating his high fees. Yu Mai, eager to secure his services, invites him to a fashion show showcasing her new line, proving her financial capability. In the audience, He Yi sees the woman from the laundromat. He learns that she is Jia, a senior from his university. After dismissing Yu Mai, He Yi researches Jia online and stumbles upon a university alumni reunion announcement. He attends, hoping to see her. Just as he is about to leave, disappointed, Yu Mai and her entourage arrive fashionably late. He Yi strategically moves his seat across from Jia and directly asks her out. They hit it off, leaving the noisy reunion behind for a quieter restaurant. Sharing similar interests, they enjoy each other's company. They go on dates to art exhibitions and cook together. He Yi gifts Jia a watch, and she kisses him. As the day of Chan-ho's trial arrives, He Yi's colleague informs him that Chan-ho's wife has hired an unknown lawyer named Deng Jia. Chan-ho enters the courtroom, brimming with confidence. But as everyone rises and then sits, He Yi is stunned to see his girlfriend as the opposing counsel. His world tilts. Jia looks at him, her wrist adorned with the watch he gave her. The trial began. Jia spoke first. She admitted the wife's multiple affairs, but pointed out that the evidence presented by the opposing side was excessively thorough and detailed, as if meticulously prepared in advance, like they were just waiting to catch her in the act. It was as though her life had been under surveillance. Therefore, she argued, the reason for the divorce wasn't solely the wife's fault. Everyone seemed to think she was just being difficult. So Jia shifted her focus to child custody. The judge opined that a woman with a history of infidelity couldn't possibly be a good parent. Jia retorted, just because a mother falls in love, she can't take care of her child. What about a father who's busy at the office all day, never around? Can he take care of the child? She then produced Ha Chan-ho's psychological evaluation. cocaine use leading to mental and behavioral disorders, along with emotional dysregulation. He Yi immediately realized the report had been obtained directly from the doctor by Chan Ho himself. Jiamjia had then surreptitiously taken it from him during a date. He Yi made a last-ditch effort, arguing the evidence should have been submitted earlier, but the judge accepted the report. He Yi lost the case. Ma Seok-gu taunted him, suggesting he withdraw from the case altogether. Seeing Jiamjia passing by, a heartbroken He Yi pursued her, lamenting how his deep affection had been so cruelly toyed with. Jiamjia replied that she simply wanted to win the case. Her opponent, after all, was the renowned lawyer He Yi. As she walked away, he was left utterly devastated. 3 months earlier, Jiamjia was working at a small law firm specializing in cases for gangsters. Just scraping by, Liu suddenly appeared. Upon learning the client was Ha Chan Ho, the other lawyers refused the case. She told Jiamjia that Chan Ho was mentally unstable, using drugs daily and verbally abusing his children. So Jiamjia took the case. She identified He Yi as the key figure and decided to use her feminine charms to extract information from him. Jiamjia had He Yi followed. Learning he frequented a laundromat at a specific time, and armed with the title of the book he was currently reading, she meticulously surveyed the location, finding the most flattering angles to showcase her appearance. She lay in wait for days, finally encountering him. On their second meeting, she tripped the circuit breaker. She then discovered Yu Mai regularly visited He Yi's office, so Jiamjia fabricated an older sister persona to get close to Yu Mai. Finally, during a date at He Yi's apartment, she copied the evidence. Facing the love-struck man, she held all the cards. Jiamjia proposed complete transparency between them. He Yi, smitten, changed his tablet password to her birthday. Back at the law office, riding the wave of her recent victory, Jai Yun informed Jiamjia that a celebrity wanted her for a difficult case involving a notoriously temperamental socialite. Such a high-profile offer was impossible to refuse. He Yi glumly recalled the end of the trial, where a furious Ha Chan Ho jabbed a pen into his hand. Enduring the pain, he went to negotiate with Jiamjia. She stated the wife demanded 100 billion won. He Yi countered that they could only offer 10% of 60 billion, which was 6 billion. All the assets were Chan Ho's. Liu had no income and had been unfaithful. Jiamjia casually mentioned that perhaps some cocaine-laced medications had been prescribed alongside his other prescriptions. Hearing this, He Yi immediately raised the offer to 20%. Jiamjia boldly demanded 50%. Seeing her aggressive stance, he threatened to report her to the Bar Association for using their relationship to gain information. Jiamjia considered it, thinking losing her license wouldn't be a big deal. She could just retake the exam. But He Yi would face serious repercussions at his firm. Left with no choice, he increased the settlement offer to 25%. Jiamjia agreed, and they shook hands. He Yi noticed the watch he had given her. He removed it from her wrist. "This is a limited edition from a prestigious brand," he said, adding that he hoped they wouldn't cross paths again. Conveniently, Jiamjia felt the same. With that, she left. As He Yi was leaving, he encountered a menacing-looking man in the stairwell. Upon entering the office, the man expressed dissatisfaction with his trial. He had paid Jiamjia's legal fees but still ended up in jail. He claimed the other party had attacked him with a club first, and he had merely retaliated, ultimately using a knife in self-defense. Jiamjia dismissed his story as absurd and threatened to call the police. He reluctantly left. Downstairs, he called someone, asking for help finding a boat to flee the country. He planned to get revenge on Jiamjia and then escape. He Yi, while buying coffee, overheard this plan. Concerned, he sent Jiamjia a text message warning her about the thug, but it was too late. Jiamjia encountered the thug on the street. She pulled out pepper spray. A struggle ensued. As she was being assaulted, painful childhood memories flashed through Jiamjia's mind. Suddenly, she grabbed the thug's head and sniffed his neck like a hound. Then, she picked up a brick, raised it high, But ultimately, watching the thug collapse, she discarded the brick and called the police. At the police station, the officers deemed Jiamya's actions self-defense. The thug was hospitalized for 8 weeks, while she, though injured, didn't go to the hospital but instead stood dazed in the middle of the street, staring up at a tall building, drawing strange looks from passers-by. She then checked her phone and saw He-Yi's message. He-Yi returned home, a place filled with cherished memories of the two of them, causing him deep heartache. The next day, Jiamja visited an elderly woman protesting outside the prosecutor's office. The woman was protesting because she had been nudged by Hwang Maiya's driver, the actress mentioned in the previous episode. The woman claimed Hwang Maiya had ordered the driver to do it. Left with no other recourse, the driver had complied, tearfully apologizing while carrying out the act. Jiamja pointed out that the woman had no proof that Hwang Maiya had given the order. Furthermore, Jiamja possessed considerable evidence demonstrating the woman's grudge against Hwang Maiya, and the driver would likely claim he acted on his own. Pursuing the matter further would only harm the driver. Park Hee-suk, the protesting woman, felt helpless in the face of this reality. Jiamja negotiated a settlement, offering to fund her son's education abroad and relocate her to a more spacious home. The law wasn't on their side, so seizing this opportunity would improve their lives. Though resentful of society's harshness, Park Hee-suk accepted the offer. Masak-gu suggested to Song Pil-jung that they replace He-Yi. He refused. Song Pil-jung advised Masak-gu to stop forming cliques and focus on mentoring He-Yi properly. That evening, Song Pil-jung dined with He-Yi's father. During the meal, Song Pil-jung revealed that Ha-yi, He-Yi's father, would be promoted. Unhappy, Ha-yi stated he didn't want to discuss work during dinner. The upright older brother felt that as a judge, he shouldn't discuss any work-related matters privately with his lawyer brother, for the sake of impartiality. The two brothers argued briefly. Eventually, Kwon, presumably a third party, and Song Pil-jung went off to drink together. Ha-yi suddenly realized that Song Pil-jung had orchestrated his promotion. He criticized those like He-Yi who used connections and engaged in unethical behavior. Hearing this, He-Yi went to a bar to drown his sorrows. Ju-ik, attending a gathering of their training class, invited him to switch drinking locations. He flatly refused. Just then, Masak-gu's group arrived at the same bar. As everyone settled in, and He-Yi was about to leave, Ma Seok-gu invited him to join their table, personally pouring him a drink. He stated that as a senior from their training class, He-Yi should drink it down. He obliged. He then personally poured Ma Seok-gu a drink, calling it a gesture of respect from a junior. He even changed his demeanor, admitting his own lack of social graces and thanking Ma Seok-gu for his guidance. Confused, Ma Seok-gu explained he was currently on medication and couldn't drink. He-Yi took the glass, downed it in one gulp, and excused himself. Ju-ik, following after him, assumed He-Yi had finally recognized Ma Seok-gu's true power and was bowing down to him. As they spoke, Ju-ik happened to spot two women they knew. That day, Jiamja went to where Hwang Maiya was socializing. She mentioned that although Park Hee-suk had withdrawn the lawsuit, she didn't want to continue sponsoring someone else's child's education. Jiamja offered to try and secure a scholarship for Park Hee-suk's son. If the boy dropped out of school, the sponsorship could be discontinued. Hwang Maiya was pleased with her. Just then, Ha Chan-ho arrived. Jiamja proactively greeted him, seeing him as a potential client. Seizing the opportunity, she took the stage and sang a song to liven up the atmosphere. Afterwards, she offered Ha Chan-ho a large drink, earning his applause. The next day, Jae-yoon made hangover soup for Jiamja, observing how far she'd gone to secure business. It paid off, as Ha Chan-ho, intrigued, scheduled a meeting with her to discuss things further. When He-Yi entered the meeting room, Ma Seok-gu announced he had assigned him a different case, one that only required information gathering. Everyone murmured. It was clearly a task for a rookie. At lunch, He Yi ate with Cho Yan Jai, one of the women from the bar. Cho Yan Jai chattered incessantly while He Yi ate in silence. He finally tried to break things off, but she stubbornly refused. Just then, he spotted Jiam Jia eating in the next room. She winked at him. He walked over, asking why she was there after they'd agreed never to see each other again. Jiam Jia simply replied she liked the food there. As she spoke, she received a call from Ha Chan Ho. He Yi's expression darkened as she sauntered off with her bag, leaving him speechless with anger. Immediately, He Yi ordered his assistant to look into Ha Chan Ho. It turned out this was all part of Jiam Ya's plan to lure He Yi into investigating him. Even Jai Yun was appalled by her manipulative tactics and how she kept toying with He Yi. At a meeting in Ha Chan Ho's company, He Yi questioned Ryu Seo Yop about related matters. As he was leaving, he ran into Ha Chan Ho, who mocked him. He Yi lost face in front of his subordinate. After enduring a barrage of insults, He Yi alluded to potentially adding different medications during Ha Chan Ho's psychiatric hospital visits, hinting at the damaging consequences if this information were to get out. Ha Chan Ho flew into a rage. Struggling with his emotional regulation, he nearly punched He Yi, but ultimately restrained himself, opting to throw things around the room instead. That evening, He Yi and Juik met at a bar. Jai Hyuk, using his connections, discovered the company plan to replace Ha Chan Ho with his sister, Ha Yi Suk, as chairman. Jiam Ya and Jai Yun were eating at a roadside stall when Ha Chan Ho called. She rushed over. Inside his bedroom, she found an unconscious woman. Ha Chan Ho had specifically instructed Juik not to call an ambulance, but to get Jiam Ja instead. She checked the woman's pulse. She was still breathing. Jiam Ja immediately called for an ambulance and then went to check on Ha Chan Ho, who had just taken some medication. He was now unconscious. Jiam Ja told those present to get him out before the ambulance arrived. Soon after, the unconscious woman was taken to the hospital. The doctor said she was suffering from malnutrition and dehydration and had arrived just in time. Jiam Ja quickly covered, claiming the woman was on a strict diet. When Seo Young Hwa regained consciousness, she asked for water. Jiam Ja quickly provided it, introducing herself as Ha Chan Ho's lawyer. Seo Young Hwa was his mistress. She had wanted to break up with him, so he had imprisoned her. She had refused to eat or drink as a way to escape his clutches. A Siak Gu barged into He Yi's office. Furious that He Yi had met with Ha Chan Ho privately and provoked him to the point of demanding a new legal counsel effectively paving the way for Jiam Ja, Ma Siak Gu ordered He Yi to apologize immediately, even if it meant getting on his knees. He Yi countered, arguing why should he apologize when Chan Ho nearly assaulted him. Incensed, He Yi stormed off towards the restroom, accidentally scattering papers across the floor while grabbing his phone. Ma Siak Gu, mistaking this for a fit of rage, cowered in his chair, clutching his chest dramatically. "Oh dear, my poor heart." Juik informed He Yi that Chan Ho had entrusted the mistress situation to Jiam Ja, and that Chan Ho and Ha Yi Suk were about to engage in a battle over assets. Upon hearing this, He Yi shoved Juik out of his office and began analyzing the players. After much deliberation, He Yi approached Ha Yi Suk, proposing a collaboration. Their leverage? Seo Young Hwa. They'd been together a long time, and if she sided with Yi Suk, they could control the situation. Yi Suk revealed that Chan Ho had defied their father for this woman. However, when Jai Yun and Yi Suk arrived at the hospital, Seo Young Hwa had already been transferred. Jiam Ja sought out Ryu Seo Yop for information on Seo Young Hwa. Used to having men fawn over her due to her wealth, she enjoyed wielding her influence. After Jiam Ja left, Seo Yop confirmed he had arranged Young Hwa's transfer, stressing the need for secrecy. At that very moment, He Yi sat across from Seo Yop, presenting him with a choice: continue aiding Chan Ho or align with the entire corporation, securing his own advancement. Seo Yop wavered. Elsewhere, Jiam-ja analyzed the relationships between the key figures. Jae-yoon cautioned her that Hee-yi wouldn't take punishment lightly. Suddenly, Jiam-ja realized Seo-young HWA was the linchpin. But when she arrived at the hospital, she found Hee-yi calmly reading beside Young Hwa's bed. He smugly revealed his client was suing Chan-ho for confinement and abuse, relishing Jiam-ja's stunned expression. Furious, Jiam-ja confronted Chan-ho, who demanded Young Hwa's return at any cost. His obsession with her was absolute. He threatened Jiam-ja, claiming her career would be over if Young Hwa didn't come back. Back home, Jiam-ja fumed. How could a chairman be so consumed by one woman? Jae-yoon reported that Ryu Seo-yeop was a fence-sitter, likely having switched sides after sensing Chan-ho's downfall and revealing Young Hwa's location to Yi-suk. They concluded their only reliable ally was Chairman Ha, Chan-ho's father. Hee-yi worked tirelessly on Young Hwa's case, while Jiam-ja fretted. The next morning, she arrived at the Ha residence, only to find Hee-yi and Yi-suk already there for breakfast. Chairman Ha inquired about Chan-ho's absence. Jiam-ja lied, claiming he was on business in Singapore and had specifically asked her to discuss his 70th birthday celebration plans. Hee-yi and Yi-suk exchanged knowing glances, neither mentioning Chan-ho. After breakfast, Jiam-ya advised Seo-yeop to continue playing both sides but to leak information about Chan-ho to Chairman Ha, carefully controlling the narrative and ensuring Yi-suk didn't reveal it first. Back at the law firm, Ma Seok-gu summoned Hee-yi, demanding to know why he was involved with Yi-suk. As Chan-ho's legal counsel, any leak of information to Yi-suk could cost Hee-yi his license and land him in jail. Ma Seok-gu tattled to Song Pil-jung, only to be told to stop speculating and simply prepare for the fallout. Chairman Ha, witnessing his son's pathetic state, slapped him repeatedly. Chan-ho protested, claiming he had fulfilled all his father's demands, his only desire being to be with the woman he loved. Immediately afterward, Chairman Ha approached Jiam-ya, assigning her the task of ensuring Ha Chan-ho and Seo-young Hwa arrived hand in hand at his 70th birthday party. Failure to accomplish this would result in the entire company being handed over to Ha Hyu. Upon accepting the task, Jiam-ja met with Jae-yoon at a restaurant. Through her connections, she obtained Seo-young Hwa's call logs and personally verified each call. Among them was a call to the owner of this very restaurant. Jiam-ja confronted the restaurant owner, inquiring about Seo-young Hwa. Hanu-chin simply feigned ignorance. Jiam-ja abruptly shifted tactics, commenting on the painting in the office, claiming its value exceeded the restaurant's annual profits. She then pointed out her own designer attire, questioning how the owner could afford such luxuries. After this outburst, she finally got to the point, asking how much money it would take for the owner to talk. As they left, they were startled to see Yu Mai at the door. The two quickly made their escape. Later, Jiam-ja instructed Jae-yoon to post on social media, using her senior's name, that she was moving to America permanently, thereby drawing a clear line with Yu Mai. After scrutinizing photos purchased from the restaurant, Jiam-ja noticed a distinctive pattern in a photo linked to a host bar. She then contacted an acquaintance who worked there, demanding he summon everyone connected to the photo. After a group of hosts entered the room, she realized one man was missing. Jiam-ja placed a check on the table. The hosts then recalled information about the missing man. After obtaining the information, Jiam-ja treated them to drinks, her generosity causing the hosts to excitedly chant her name. Hee-yi visited Yang-eun, the man seen at the beginning of episode 1, providing him with Seo-young Hwa's lawsuit against Ha Chan-ho. Because Yang-eun considered money to be worthless, he wouldn't be swayed by the wealthy. Subsequently, news of Ha Chan-ho's crimes was broadcast on a large outdoor screen. Jiam-ja arrived at the hospital but didn't know Seo-young Hwa's room number. Using Hee-yi's business card, she successfully obtained the information. When they reached the door, the guard was dozing. Hee-yi had Jo-gu call the hospital, learning that Jiam-ya, posing as a law firm employee, was already there. Hee-yi rushed to the hospital only to find the door locked. It turned out Seo Young HWA, after Ji-eum-ya's departure, refused to see anyone. Hee-yi spent the night keeping vigil outside the room. At daybreak, Seo Young HWA emerged, telling Hee-yi she wanted to drop the charges. Hee-yi advised her against it, arguing that withdrawing the lawsuit would perpetuate her suffering, suggesting it would be better to testify and then relocate abroad. Ha-hyu then arrived, making promises to her. Finally, Seo Young HWA agreed. After leaving the hospital room, Hee-yi declared Seo Young HWA would never choose Ha Chan-ho. Chairman Ha's birthday party was attended by numerous influential figures. Ha Chan-ho was extremely tense. Ji-eum-ja calmly informed him that news of his crimes was being broadcast on television, and that prosecutors would be visiting him that day. She advised him to stop confining Seo Young HWA and to change his ways. Just as Ha Chan-ho was about to explode in anger, Ju Yu-seop entered. Ji-eum-ja softly uttered, "Showtime." Chairman Ha cheerfully greeted prominent figures from all walks of life, the scene grand and impressive, while Ji-eum-ja observed everything from the second floor. Hee-yi called Yang-eun, instructing him to be ready to arrest Ha Chan-ho at any moment. But the most surprising scene unfolded. Ha Chan-ho and Seo Young HWA entered hand in hand. Hee-yi was instantly stunned. They greeted Chairman Ha and then sat opposite Ha-hyu. Hee-yi dropped his phone, deeply shaken by the sight. Ha-hyu glared angrily at Hee-yi. Hee-yi then received a text from Ji-eum-ja stating that Seo Young HWA had decided to withdraw the lawsuit. This morning, Seo Young HWA used the excuse of buying sanitary napkins to go to the restroom. She changed into clothes Jae-yoon had prepared for her. Moreover, after Young HWA left the restroom, Jae-yoon purposely fell to distract the bodyguard. Seo Young HWA seized the opportunity to escape the hospital. She then met Ju Yu-seop and attended a birthday party together. It turns out Ji-eum-ja had discovered Seo Young HWA's ongoing affair with a man. This man happened to be Ha Chan-ho's half-brother. Ji-eum-ja used this information to blackmail Young HWA, telling her she could only continue seeing her lover if she kept seeing Ha Chan-ho. Even if Seo Young HWA testified against Ha Chan-ho, he would soon be released from prison, and a living hell awaited her. If Ha Chan-ho found out about Young HWA's relationship with his half-brother, he would never forgive her. Ji-eum-ya then instructed Seo Young HWA to pretend to accept Hee-yi's proposal. Meanwhile, Ji-eum-ja observed Hee-yi's reaction, while Song Pil-jun noticed Ji-eum-ja from upstairs. After the job was done, Ju Yu-seop paid Ji-eum-ja a large sum of money, suddenly making her wealthy. Ha-hyu, furious, sarcastically told Hee-yi not to dream if he lacked the ability. She then poured a bottle of wine over Hee-yi's head, telling him never to appear before her again. Ji-eum-ja approached Hee-yi and offered him a handkerchief. Hee-yi, enraged, ignored her. Ji-eum-ya told him she came to say goodbye. Seeing his heartbroken expression, she felt a pang of sympathy. Hee-yi didn't say a word and walked away. Chairman Ha spoke privately with Song Pil-jun, saying that Ha Chan-ho needed to wake up. Otherwise, no one could stop Ha-hyu from quietly taking over the company. Chairman Ha then announced to the family that they would continue working with Song Pil-jun's law firm and sent Ha-hyu to South America for a 3-month business trip. Ha Chan-ho, triumphant, embraced Seo Young HWA, but her eyes were on Ha Yun-ho. Song Pil-jun saw Hee-yi waiting for him, and the two of them, along with Ji-eum-ja, got into a car. Hee-yi said he would submit his resignation. Earlier, Hee-yi had met with Song Pil-jun privately, intending to help Ha-hyu replace Ha Chan-ho. However, Song Pil-jun felt it was too risky and wanted to play both sides. Hee-yi saw Song Pil-jun's hesitation and decided to support Ha-hyu in his personal capacity. Song Pil-jun reminded Hee-yi that if this were exposed, he would have to resign. But now, Song Pil-jun refused to accept Hee-yi's resignation, telling him to reflect on why he lost and whether it was due to his arrogance. Back home, Jeonja looked at the money she earned without any joy, understanding that they were just trying to pay her off. No matter how hard Jeonja tried, she wasn't chosen. Jae-yoon also lamented their difficulty in entering high society. Jeonja, disheartened, drank her sorrows away while staring at the money on the table. The next day, Jeonja paused by the roadside, looking up at the tall buildings. When they returned to the law firm, a client was waiting. The client was Yeon, a violinist whom he admired. He wanted to change his contract with his company, but didn't want to go to court because the company's owner was his mother. He had now lost half of his clients, and his workload had decreased. When he went to the firm's break room, Jeonja initiated a conversation with him and gave him 2 tickets to Yeon's concert. He actually attended the concert. After the concert, Yeon appeared at the meet and greet. He, seeing his idol, approached him to say hello, holding a limited edition album. But suddenly, he saw Jeonja behind Yeon, and his eyes widened. Yeon accepted the album and signed it for He. He then flashed back to a memory of Jeonja giving him an album. The 2 rivals began bickering as soon as they saw each other. Yumai appeared, eager to introduce Hwang Mi-ra and Ha Chan-ho to them. He signaled to Jeonja with his eyes and pulled her to a bar. Yumai was curious about their relationship, one claiming they had never been involved, the other saying they had broken up. This led to another heated argument between them. The 3 drank freely, with Yumai being the first to pass out. He told Jeonja not to see each other again and asked if she had ever liked him. Jeonja coldly replied that she had never had feelings for him. He further questioned what was real in her life. Jeonja seriously answered that only her present self was real. However, He countered that both the past and future were also part of his true self. He left the limited edition album and departed. Jeonja put the intoxicated Yumai in a taxi and returned home. Jeonja visited Yeon at his rehearsal space and asked why he had signed such an unfair contract. The contract term was 15 years, with an automatic renewal clause, and the profit sharing heavily favored the management company. It even prohibited dating and social media use, clearly treating him as a money-making tool. Yeon defended his mother, saying she was still his mother. Jeonja asked about his resolve. Yeon declared that he would escape the contract, no matter the cost. At that moment, Yeon's mother arrived, scolding her assistant for failing to keep out irrelevant people. Yeon explained that Jeonja was his guest. Suspicious, his mother snatched the contract from his hand. Seeing this, Jeonja formally introduced herself as a lawyer. Upon hearing this, Yeon's mother hit her assistant with the contract and announced the cancellation of Yeon's performance. Yeon's attempt to explain was met with him being shoved to the ground. Jeonja, witnessing this, started to leave. Yeon, feeling utterly humiliated, decided to sue. Hee went to Ma Seok-gu's office. Seok-gu asked Hyuna to assign a minor case to Hee. Following Hyuna into the office, Hee happened to see Yeon's case file. Thinking of Jeonja, he decided to take the case but requested his name be kept off the official records. Hyuna met with Jeonja, proposing a quiet settlement. She wanted to see if Jeonja would tenaciously pursue the case, as rumored. Jeonja reviewed the settlement offer, unsatisfied with the revised contract terms, noting the red-marked sections. Before leaving, Hyuna mocked Jeonja for using dirty tricks, claiming the rumors were exaggerated, and criticized her lack of class for spreading the story of Yeon being controlled by his mother for 20 years. Jeonja went to Yeon's hotel room and found him watching TV in the dark. She opened the curtains, telling him to cheer up. He was distraught and melancholic. His mother wasn't answering his calls, and she was his only family. He wanted to revise the contract but maintain contact with his mother. Jeonja told the weeping Yeon that before being an artist, he was an adult and should use the law to protect his interests. Otherwise, no one could help him. Hearing this, Yeon embraced Jeonja and sobbed. Jeonja then met with Yeon's mother. the arrogant woman ridiculed her son for seeking help from a nobody lawyer. Jeom-ja ignored the insult and stated her intention to terminate the exploitative contract. Yeon's mother ordered her to leave. Mimicking her mannerism, Jeom-ja rolled up the contract and slammed it on the table, vowing not to let her treat Yeon that way again. Hee-yi arrived at the law firm where Yoo-mi was waiting for him in his office. She wanted to discuss investing in the firm. Jae-hyuk quickly intervened, taking Yoo-mi out of the office. The two gossiped about Hee-yi's eccentric personality. Yoo-mi suddenly remarked, "No wonder Senior dumped him," and showed Jae-hyuk a picture. Jae-hyuk's jaw dropped. It was Jeom-ya. Later, Jeom-ya had lunch with her assistant. Jae-yoon wondered why the other side hadn't assigned the case to Hee-yi, who knew Yeon best. Jeom-ya called Yeon, asking how he knew about their law firm. He simply said a friend recommended them and quickly hung up. Jeom-ja recalled the social media ban in the contract and wondered if the reason for the ban was a relationship, and perhaps an unconventional one at that. Next, she told Jae-yoon to investigate the bar Yeon frequented. Meanwhile, Hee-yi went to a gay bar to find Yeon. He told him the lawsuit could drag on for 1 or 2 years, impacting his performances during that time. Yeon, unsure what to do, immediately became flustered. Hee-yi seized the opportunity and presented a settlement agreement, stating the company would cover all expenses and Yeon would receive a monthly allowance of 5 million won. Yeon wasn't overly concerned about the details. He just wanted to continue performing. He was also told he could choose his own manager. Hearing this, he became somewhat excited. Before Hee-yi arrived, Yeon's mother had made it clear she wanted to manage her son's schedule personally. Hee-yi reminded her that what Yeon truly desired was to perform and have freedom, so she should give him some space. Hee-yi also informed Yeon that the no dating clause had been removed from the contract, for which Yeon was very grateful. Hee-yi patted Yeon's shoulder and left. As he turned back, he saw Yeon nestled in his boyfriend's arms. Later, Jeom-ya received a call from Yeon requesting to withdraw the lawsuit. She tried to persuade him otherwise, but ultimately failed. Jeom-ja confronted Hee-yi, who had clearly won this round. Hee-yi casually sipped alcohol in front of his house, while a furious Jeom-ya could only hurl insults. Suddenly, Jeom-ja received a call from SK Law Firm. The next day, Hee-yi arrived at work full of energy. During a meeting, Song Pil-jung introduced the firm's newest lawyer, Jeom-ya. Hee-yi was stunned, their eyes meeting. Jeom-ja playfully winked. Hee-yi was utterly shocked. Jeom-ya had only ever looked up at this high-end office building from the outside, and now she finally had the opportunity to step inside, to join the prestigious SK Law Firm. Jeom-ja took a deep breath at the entrance before stepping into the office. She was greeted by Gong Hong-gu. As Jeom-ja admired the office decor, he presented his business card and explained the displays showcasing the firm's history. Gong Hong-gu also mentioned he had been following Jeom-ya's career, wanting to offer her a bigger stage. He then produced a contract, along with an access card and car keys. Jeom-ja reviewed the contract, saying she needed time to consider it. As she was leaving, Gong Hong-gu brought out files on cases handled by her law office, including one involving a failed assault charge, serious enough to revoke her license. Jeom-ja insisted it was self-defense, already resolved, and declined his offer. He continued to pressure her. "Do you want to be a disbarred third-rate lawyer forever, or join a first-rate law firm for a fresh start?" Jeom-ja took the documents and left. After her departure, Palm appeared. He asked Gong Hong-gu what he thought. Song Pil-jung wanted to hire Jeom-ya to replace Gong Hong-gu and take over the case Hee-yi was handling. If anything went wrong, it would be easier to discard her and make her take the blame. He reassured Gong Hong-gu that his departure was temporary, at most 3 years. Jeom-ja stepped out of the building and asked Jae-yoon to prepare a new outfit for her inaugural ceremony at the partner firm. Hee-yi was reeling from the shock. The meeting began, with Song Pil-jung comparing the annual revenue of each department, urging lawyers to improve their performance. Fortunately, they still led in market share, but underperforming lawyers should prepare for their resignation. After the meeting, Song Pil-jung met privately with Jeom-ja. They exchanged pleasantries. Jeom-ja wanted her old files back and the original data erased, fearing it could become a vulnerability later. Song Pil-jung agreed, but only after she fully integrated into the firm. He then assigned her the Sun Jin-soo/F-Tech case, demanding she ensure the company's successful IPO. However, she had to collaborate with another team, led by Hee-yi. Jeom-ja preferred working alone or forming her own team, but Song Pil-jung insisted on the collaboration. Hee-yi and Jae-hyuk sat glumly in their office, facing internal complaints about Jeom-ya's hiring. To their dismay, her office was directly across from theirs. Jae-hyuk concluded they must have been enemies in a past life to be so constantly entangled. As soon as Jeom-ja entered the office, she got right to work. She told Jae-yoon to investigate the personal information of the other lawyers in the firm, as well as the background of F-Tech. Hee-yi, unable to contain himself, ran to find Song Pil-jung. The F-Tech case was almost finalized, and Jeom-ya's involvement infuriated him. Song Pil-jung felt that Jeom-ya could solve many tricky problems. Hee-yi insisted he couldn't work with her, but Song Pil-jung's reply was, "You've always lost when challenging her before. Now you can use this opportunity to find her weaknesses." Jae-hyuk introduced the team members to Jeom-ya. Hyun-ae, dubbed the female Hee-yi, was born with a silver spoon in her mouth and full of righteous ideals. Next was Chang-wook, specializing in criminal cases, known as the single dad with a 100% win rate. The last was Jae-hyuk, close to Hee-yi, specializing in tax law, average in performance but a quick information gatherer. The bottom line, they still had to collaborate with Hee-yi. Just then, Jeom-ja received a meeting request from Hee-yi. When they met, he offered congratulations laced with mockery, pointing out the firm had never hired a lawyer with her background. He then brought up their past conflicts. Jeom-ja grew impatient. Hee-yi got straight to the point, demanding she pack her bags and leave the firm. He couldn't work with her. Coincidentally, she felt the same, demanding he withdraw. They argued relentlessly. Hee-yi accused Jeom-ja of using underhanded tactics and stealing intelligence. Infuriated, Jeom-ja challenged him to report her, predicting his own dismissal and blacklisting from any reputable firm, giving him a taste of her life. Finally, she advised, "Your hair is messed up. Besides, I know you better than you know yourself." Leaving the restaurant, Jeom-ya again stood by the road, gazing up at the tall building, but this time she walked straight towards it, not just passing by. The next day, Hee-yi arrived at work to widespread congratulations. His father had been appointed Chief Justice. Later, he asked Jae-hyuk to send some F-Tech documents to Jeom-ja for processing. Jae-hyuk was astonished by the change in him. Angry and indignant on Hee-yi's behalf, he pointed out that refusing to cooperate would result in the entire case being handed over to Jeom-ya. Meanwhile, having failed to push Hee-yi out, Jeom-ja prepared to target the other lawyers. To her surprise, the new lawyer Yi-jun reported for duty, admitting to less than a year's experience in preparing meeting minutes. The atmosphere became awkward. Displeased with Jeom-ya's hiring, Ma Seok-gu told Min-ju about her involvement in the case. Min-ju revealed that Jeom-ja was replacing Gong Hong-gu, suggesting Song Pil-jung was trying to protect himself by making her a scapegoat. The situation seemed far from smooth. After the call, Min-ju decided to return to Korea earlier than planned. Jeom-ja approached Hyun-ae, demanding a financial report by 2 p.m. the day after tomorrow and all due diligence documents delivered to Jae-yoon that evening. Hyun-ae, skeptical of Jeom-ya's team leader status, intended to confirm with Hee-yi. Next, Jeom-ja targeted Chang-wook, finding him at a small bar. She asserted her authority as team leader and announced a meeting in 2 days. They shared a few drinks. Jeom-ja remarked that a single father raising a daughter must need money, alluding to Chang-wook's nightly visits to the stock exchange. He, in turn, proved equally knowledgeable about her background. Finally, she reminded him about the meeting and the need to prepare documents. Ma Seok-gu held a private meeting with the firm's shareholders, expressing concerns about Song Pil-jung's hiring of Ji-eum-ya. Hee-yi attended as well. Ma Seok-gu tried to recruit him to his side, but Hee-yi not only refused but also exposed Ma Seok-gu's newfound importance due solely to his father's promotion. A drunk Ji-eum-ja returned to the office to find Jae-yoon asleep on the sofa. She placed the takeout food she had bought for her assistant beside her. It was another beautiful day. Yu-mai arrived at the law firm, and Jae-hyuk greeted her. Ji-eum-ya, passing by and spotting Yu-mai, immediately sought a place to hide. Seeing a storage room behind where Hee-yi and Hyuna were talking, she rushed towards it. Jae-hyuk, quick-witted, noticed Ji-eum-ya and, recalling a previous incident with his senior, promptly escorted Yu-mai upstairs. Ji-eum-ya seized this opportunity, successfully avoiding Yu-mai, and ran straight to the storage room. Ma Seok-gu, standing at the door, was pushed inside by her. Yu-mai, wanting coffee, approached the storage room door. Seeing this, Jae-hyuk purposely spoke loudly, alerting the two inside. Yu-mai leisurely enjoyed her coffee and dessert, while the two inside communicated using hand gestures, eventually resorting to flipping each other off. Someone came to the storage room to retrieve something, and Ji-eum-ya used her shoe to block the door. Hee-yi felt that constantly hiding wasn't a solution. Yu-mai frequently visited the law firm, and sooner or later their relationship would be discovered. Ji-eum-ja asked Hee-yi what their relationship was, and he replied that they were ex-lovers. Ji-eum-ja believed it was just Hee-yi's one-sided infatuation. After Yu-mai left, the two emerged from the storage room and returned to their respective offices. That evening, Hee-yi dwelled on Ji-eum-ya's words, growing increasingly frustrated. He exercised to vent his emotions. The next day, Hee-yi, unwilling to cooperate with Ji-eum-ya, sought out Song Pil-jung. Pil-jung proposed they collaborate on the case assigned to Ji-eum-ja. Hee-yi should focus on getting the company listed, and ultimately, all the credit would go to him. At meeting time, none of Ji-eum-ya's team members showed up, while Hee-yi's team was present in full. They privately discussed which side to take. Chang-wook advocated for siding with the winner. Hee-yi arrived and briefed them on the key points of the case. The F-Tech information leak violated personal information protection laws, hindering the company's IPO, and their task was to ensure a successful listing. Before Hee-yi could finish, Ji-eum-ja entered the meeting room. The two immediately began bickering. Seeing the team members watching the spectacle, Hee-yi allowed them to freely choose which team to join, even giving them time to think it over. After Hee-yi left, Hyuna and Jae-hyuk both made excuses to return to their offices. Ji-eum-ja instructed Chang-wook, the only one remaining, to come to her office for a meeting. A short while later, Chang-wook carried a stack of documents to Ji-eum-ya's office. Both teams held meetings simultaneously. Jae-hyuk knew a lot about Sun Jin-soo. It turned out he had used drugs and been sent to rehab. After starting his own business, Sun Jin-soo's personality had suddenly changed. In Ji-eum-ya's meeting, Jae-yoon felt that what they saw wasn't necessarily the truth. Chang-wook mentioned that Sun Jin-soo was now a notorious madman in the financial world. Jae-yoon interrupted. He got married while studying abroad in the US, and his wife currently lives there. Upon hearing this, Ji-eum-ya suspected he might be the one who leaked the membership information. After assigning tasks to each lawyer, Hee-yi and Ji-eum-ja went out to investigate personally. Ma Seok-gu rallied everyone to protest Ji-eum-ja becoming a member of the firm. He wanted Song Pil-jung to know that tyrannical dictatorship was unacceptable. However, when they arrived at the meeting room, no one was there. Ma Seok-gu returned to his office in a rage. Song Pil-jung came to see him, reminding him of how he was raised by his mother and how Pil-jung had given him the opportunity to join the law firm after graduation. He accused Seok-gu of being ungrateful, like a beggar given a piece of meat who then demands wine. Ma Seok-gu quickly apologized. After Song Pil-jung left, he felt deeply humiliated. his hands clenching into fists. Unexpectedly, Jiam-ya and He-yi both went to see Sun Jin-soo without prior arrangement. Seeing him enter, Jiam-ja quickly slipped her phone into the sofa crevice. He-yi spoke first, posing questions, while Jiam-ja silently observed Sun Jin-soo's reactions, occasionally voicing her suspicions. He-yi hastily tried to smooth things over. Sun Jin-soo said he would investigate his internal staff. Jiam-ya proposed that she and He-yi conduct the investigation themselves. Sun Jin-soo refused. Jiam-ya then mentioned a dark web forum and the 4.5 billion won in cryptocurrency the leaker received. Sun Jin-soo, looking flustered, claimed ignorance and expressed annoyance at her tone. He-yi apologized on Jiam-ya's behalf. After they both stepped out of the elevator, He-yi expressed his dissatisfaction with Jiam-ya's approach. She retorted that he shouldn't trust clients so easily, as people only say what benefits them. Then, she realized she'd left her phone in Sun Jin-soo's office. She used this as an excuse to return, though her real intention was to secretly record their conversation. Down in the parking garage, Jiam-ja played back the recording and uncovered a clue. She then went to find Jae, obtaining the personal information of the prosecutor in charge of the case. There was also another witness involved. He-yi independently obtained similar information. Both realized the importance of this witness. After their respective meetings, Jae and Yumai met for drinks. After a few drinks, Jae began revealing the secrets he knew. The senior colleague was actually Jiam-ja in disguise. She was a lawyer. He even let slip that Jiam-ja and He-yi had dated. Yumai, seemingly intoxicated, it was unclear whether she heard any of this. In a nursing home, Song Kyu-dung meticulously bathed his comatose wife, telling her that her sister, Min-ju, was returning to the country soon. He wondered if he could restrain himself if Min-ju interfered with his plans. Jiam-ja quickly went to find the witness, Kim Gong-jun, while He-yi visited Park Kuk-hun, urging him not to prosecute and avoid escalating the situation. The cryptocurrency wasn't sufficient evidence, and trying to use a witness to indict Sun Jin-soo was both reckless and audacious. Park Kuk-hun, provoked, became even more determined to investigate thoroughly. Jiam-ya staked out Kim Gong-jun's house. He-yi joined her. Bored, he turned on some music, which happened to be a symphony she liked. Jiam-ya claimed she hadn't had time to change the music. He-yi dropped the subject and asked her why she chose to become a lawyer, as there were many other lucrative professions. Jiam-ja replied that she felt understanding the law was the best way to protect herself, making her less vulnerable. As they talked, Kim Gong-jae-yoon arrived home. Jiam-ja hurriedly got out of the car, startling Kim Gong-jun, who ran away. They lost him. Jiam-ja suggested they just meet with his mother. The next day, Jiam-ja messaged He-yi that she had arranged a meeting with Kim Yeon-jae-yoon, his mother. He told her not to bother her. Meanwhile, He-yi went to see Sun Jin-soo to inquire about Kim Gong-jun. Sun Jin-soo said Kim Gong-jun had been fired a year ago. Despite being a founding member, his skills were lacking. However, Kim Gong-jun claimed that Sun Jin-soo provided the initial capital, while he developed the technology, starting the company together. Initially, things went well, but over time, he couldn't tolerate Sun Jin-soo's work style any longer. He likened Sun Jin-soo's demand that he, a tech expert, manage finances to crippling him. Furthermore, Sun Jin-soo had arranged for someone to steal his work. Both blamed each other. As He-yi was talking to Sun Jin-soo, prosecutors suddenly barged in with a search warrant and began searching the premises. He-yi quickly called Jiam-ya to inform her of Sun Jin-soo's arrest. While Kim Yeon-jae-yoon was in the restroom, Jiam-ja activated a recording device so He-yi could listen in. She asked if Kim Gong-jun had provided any evidence to the prosecution. He suddenly changed his demeanor, adopting a condescending tone, and refused to give her any further information. Immediately afterward, He-yi and Jiam-ja held an urgent meeting. Feeling that the lawyers were just strategizing theoretically, Jiam-ja took the initiative to seek out lower-level employees for insights. He, however, believed that this approach wouldn't yield any useful information. This difference in approach led to another clash between them. At that moment, the news reported that Sun Jinsu's bail request had been denied. The finance company's stock plummeted. Jiamjia dispatched Jop and Changwook to investigate the finance company. Their investigation revealed widespread employee dissatisfaction with poor working conditions, low salaries, and excessive overtime. The resignation rate was alarmingly high. While reviewing the list of resigned employees, Jiamjia noticed one employee without any contact information. Changwook informed her that this employee had committed suicide. Everyone assumed that she had been driven to this extreme act by pressure from Sun Jinsu. Jiamjia personally visited the employee's family and discovered that they hadn't protested to the company after their daughter's death, choosing instead to remain silent. Jiamjia noticed a relatively new dog kennel outside their home. The elderly couple then admitted to receiving money from Kim Yeon Jae-yoon. As Jiamjia was leaving, the mother handed her her daughter's belongings, pleading with her to investigate. Among the belongings, Jiamjia found a broken phone, which she immediately took to be repaired. The first day of the finance company trial arrived. Jiamjia, with the repaired phone in hand, rushed to the courthouse. On the way, she called Heyi, "I'm on my way. Right now, I can only rely on you." Heyi gently reminded her to drive carefully. In court, Heyi skillfully stoked Kim Gong-jun's resentment towards Sun Jinsu. As a result, Kim Gong-jun fell into the trap, exclaiming, "If I could, I'd get rid of Sun Jinsu myself." Heyi seized upon this statement, questioning the veracity of Kim Gong-jun's testimony, buying time for Jiamjia. Finally, Jiamjia arrived and submitted the new evidence. The deceased employee's phone contained a crucial recording. It revealed that Kim Gong-jun was responsible for leaking the membership data, motivated by deep dissatisfaction with his salary and treatment at the company. Thus, the first collaboration between Jiamjia and Heyi was a resounding success. After his release from prison, Sun Jinsu publicly apologized for the data leak. However, he didn't prosecute Kim Gong-jun. Heyi suspected Jiamjia's involvement. Indeed, Jiamjia had used a secretly recorded conversation to threaten Sun Jinsu. The recording implicated Sun Jinsu's knowledge of the 4.5 billion won. She warned him against prosecuting or further tormenting Kim Gong-jun. Following the case's conclusion, Sun Jinsu attempted to recruit Jiamjia, but she flatly refused. Subsequently, Sun Jinsu invested in an animal welfare organization. Jiamjia contributed to a copyright protection fund, garnering significant positive public attention. This boosted the firm's successful IPO, and the legal team received substantial bonuses. The next day, Song Pil-jung introduced everyone to a new lawyer, his sister-in-law, Miss Min-ju, who would be working alongside him. Everyone warmly welcomed her. Yumai sought Jiamjia's help with a legal matter, but Jae-yoon intercepted her. Witnessing this, Jiamjia brought Yumai into her office. Yumai reproached Jiamjia for concealing her true identity. Jiamjia retorted that her actions were meant to get closer to Heyi, and Yumai hadn't suffered any loss, leaving Yumai speechless. So she liked him that much. To Yumai's surprise, Jiamjia claimed it was simply because Heyi was handsome and made a good escort. Yumai then explained her troubles with loan sharks, pleading with Jiamjia for help to prevent them from reporting her to senior management. Jiamjia, both amused and exasperated, guessed that Jop had subtly suggested this course of action, as Yumai wouldn't have thought of it on her own. Ultimately, she agreed to help. Min-ju approached Song Kyu-dong, mentioning his daily 15-year vigil at her sister's side. If not for the incident 15 years prior, he wouldn't have to endure such hardship. Before leaving, she requested Song Pil-jung to provide her with the financial reports for review. Yumai rushed to Jae-yoon, complaining about Jiamjia's attitude and threatening to reveal their relationship. Coincidentally, Ma Seok-gu's henchman overheard this. During the celebratory dinner that evening, Heyi learned about the connection between his secretary and Jae-yoon. No wonder Jiamjia knew his schedule so well. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became, grinding his teeth in frustration. Just then, Jiamja received a call from Ju Ho and rushed off. Upon arrival, she received shocking news. Her father, a convicted criminal, had received a reduced sentence and been released. Jiamja's eyes widened, her grip tightening around her glass as she recalled him beating her mother to death in a drunken rage. Because it wasn't premeditated murder, he only served a few years. She had been so despairing that she'd contemplated ending her own life. But her younger brother, Ju Ho, had appeared just in time, calling her sister and saving her. From then on, Jiamja dedicated herself to studying law to put her father back behind bars. So, the next time Young Chun-soo became drunk and aggressive towards her, she placed a knife in his hand and pressed it against her own stomach. Then, holding his hand firmly, she allowed Ju Ho to run and call the police, successfully ensuring Young Chun-soo received a harsher sentence. Hee-yi, back at home, couldn't stop thinking about Jiamja. He finally jumped up and went looking for her, almost bumping into her on the street. He sat down and began questioning her, wanting to understand her as well as she understood him, analyzing whether she had ever felt anything for him. Jiamja denied it, encouraging Hee-yi to maintain his current lifestyle, marry, and have children. Hee-yi felt that her clear demarcation of boundaries meant she was hiding something. After a few drinks, he confessed to missing her. While he found her presence annoying, her absence was even more unbearable. The next day, Yumai sought Jiamja's help. Jiamja took her to the loan sharks, presenting a detailed record of their crimes and demanding they erase Yumai's debt. Otherwise, she would hand over the evidence to the court. The gangster, despite his fury, had no choice but to agree. As they were leaving, Yumai confessed that she had carelessly revealed the relationship between Jiamja and Hee-yi to someone else at the law firm. Meanwhile, someone visited the law firm inquiring about Jiamja. Hee-yi ascertained their purpose and directed them accordingly. Jiamja's words from the previous night continued to bother him. Working alongside him, Jiamja realized she had left some documents at the firm. He used this as an excuse to go see her. Returning to the office, Jiamja was apprehensive upon learning that Young Chun-soo had come looking for her. Opening the door, she saw him sitting in her office. He called her by her real name, Oh Jin Sim, in a gravelly voice. She curtly told him to leave. As he was about to go, Young Chun-soo pulled something from his pocket. Traumatized, Jiamja recoiled, fearing he had a weapon. It was only a business card. After his release, he had become a pastor. Jiamja yelled at him to leave, causing Hee-yi, standing outside, to worry. Young Chun-soo insisted she visit him, saying he would wait for her. Long after Young Chun-soo left, Jiamja finally calmed down, sitting numbly in her office until late. Hee-yi brought her alcohol. Jiamja recounted the trauma Young Chun-soo inflicted upon her 23 years ago. Despite the passage of time, seeing him still triggered fear and made her recoil. She had never experienced such terror, even when dealing with gangsters or facing life-threatening situations. Hee-yi, filled with compassion, told her she could use him, that he would let her. Jiamja asked him to pretend the day never happened, and then kissed him. While on the phone, Jiamja accidentally spilled coffee on a man. After cleaning him up, she gave him her business card, suggesting he file a civil suit for compensation. The man watched her leave, suddenly intrigued. At the law firm, Min-ju assigned Jiamja and Hee-yi to the upon case. Hee-yi, ever loyal to Song Pil-jung, wanted to confirm if he was aware of this beforehand. He was immediately reprimanded by Min-ju. At that moment, Kevin Young, Upon's Korean branch director, arrived. Jiamja recognized him as the man she had bumped into earlier. He extended his hand to greet her. Displeased, Hee-yi quickly shook his hand. Sensing Hee-yi's reaction, Jiamja deliberately extended her hand as well, causing Hee-yi to grit his teeth as they shook hands. Their task was to facilitate the merger of Fion with Noise Pharmaceuticals, without revealing Upon as the acquirer. Kevin Young specifically requested Jiamja's involvement throughout the process. Hee adorably shook his head at her from across the room. Jeong-ja glanced at him and readily agreed. Already irritated, Hee became even more annoyed as Jop incessantly praised Kevin Young's competence and good looks. Mid-conversation, he received a call from Song Pil-jung. He wanted to know more about the case Min-ju assigned to Hee. Replying that he was ready to report to him privately if needed, Song Pil-jung then asked, "Who do you think the firm belongs to?" Hee immediately answered, "To you, of course." Hearing the desired response, Song Pil-jung sent him to a networking event for prominent figures in politics and law. He was introduced to everyone. Someone, upon hearing that his father was a newly appointed judge, immediately expressed interest in getting to know him. Today, Min-ju visited her older sister. Having missed the critical period for treatment, her sister had become comatose. But Min-ju still harbored suspicions about her sister's accident. To acquire Isum Pharmaceuticals, Yi-jun began investigating relevant documents, discovering that the company had a promising drug but recalled it shortly after its release due to a side effect that caused facial paralysis. Yi wondered, why would a company facing bankruptcy try so hard to hold on? Why not accept the acquisition? He then called Jeong-ja to exchange information. However, she was currently taking Kevin Young and his father to school. Learning her location from Jae-yoon, Hee took Yi-jun to the school to find her. Jeong-ja was extremely displeased with his reckless behavior and immediately pulled the boy away. After bandaging the injured boy's wound, Yi-jun scolded. He hit another child, acting like he's untouchable because his father owns a famous fashion company. The boy showed no remorse and even took out his card, attempting to resolve the issue with money. At that moment, Hee arrived and was recognized by the boy as a lawyer working under his father. Hee got into the boy's car to get the full story. The boy simply said he was in a bad mood, which led to the altercation. As for the arm injury, he claimed the other boy wasn't careful. He showed no shame whatsoever. Hee intended to advise him, but the boy grew impatient and kicked him out of the car in the middle of the road. Later, due to the boy's incident, Hee had to negotiate with Masok. Their lawyer demanded a public apology and wanted the warehouse under construction as compensation. The two sides couldn't reach an agreement, so the client gave Hee full authority to handle the case. Yi-jun went to the school to seek clues from the other students, but no one paid him any attention. Only one boy told him that their homeroom teacher for that semester had been fired. Hee and Yi-jun immediately went to find the homeroom teacher, Han Hee-sun. Knowing who they were, she revealed everything. It turned out that the boy with the broken arm, along with other students, had poured milk on another student's head. After that, she received an anonymous video recording the bullying incident. The bullied boy refused to tell her the truth because snitching is what weak people do. Subsequently, Han Hee-sun had secretly contacted the victims of bullying, which led to her dismissal. While leaving, Hee kept thinking about Han Hee-sun's words, "The students who attend this school are all from wealthy families, and being so young, they're just arrogant, unreasonable copies of their parents." Meanwhile, Jeong-ja wasn't making any progress. She took the initiative to visit the chairman of Isum Pharmaceuticals with Gi-hyuk. The CFO was also present. Jeong-ja stated directly that they would offer a fair acquisition price. But the chairman said that the main ingredient in the recalled drug was V5, and many researchers had dedicated their lives to it. Therefore, he had no intention of selling the company. He still wanted to find a way to bring the drug back to market. After he finished, the CFO also spoke up, dismissing them. So, Jeong-ja had to take Gi-hyuk back. Observant Jeong-ja noticed that the CFO was only in his early 20s. They could start their investigation from this point. And, following Gi-hyuk's tip, they quickly found where the Isum Pharmaceuticals employees went to unwind and took the team there to eavesdrop. The employees complained about the difficulties of life. Hyun seized the opportunity to hand out her business card, offering her legal services. Soon, the two tables merged into one. The lawyers, drinks in hand, extracted information. It turned out that the real shareholder of Isum Pharmaceuticals was the Trinity Church. At the same time, Jae-yoon discovered that the church leader was Baek Hee-jun. Hee-yi and Ma Seok-gu met again. He presented video evidence proving the boy with the broken arm had bullied his classmate, threatening that this school violence could easily become a media scandal. This left the opposing party with no room to negotiate, forcing them to unconditionally agree to his demands. Afterward, Hee-yi played a recording of his client's son's arrogant remarks for the client to hear. As a lawyer, he had to manage his client's risks, so he urged him to prioritize his son's education before things escalated further. Although displeased, the client had to agree. Finished with the case, Hee-yi happily sought out Jeom-ya, only to find her on a date with Kevin Young. However, she was only trying to understand his true motives for wanting to acquire Isum Pharmaceuticals. Kevin Young was honest with her, revealing that the V5 component in the new drug could treat dementia, a fact unknown to Isum Pharmaceuticals. Just as they reached the crux of the matter, Hee-yi suddenly appeared, interrupting the conversation and preventing Kevin Young from continuing. Annoyed, Jeom-ja glared at him. Kevin Young offered Jeom-ja flowers as a gesture of goodwill, but she found them bothersome, her mind preoccupied with Hee-yi's sudden interruption. The previous day, frustrated, she had stormed off, but Hee-yi, oblivious, followed her to the car. Fuming, Jeom-ya, feeling like she was about to explode, wanted to go somewhere cold to cool down. So, the driver took them to the base of the television tower. While waiting for the cable car, Hee-yi offered his coat to Jeom-ja, who was shivering from the cold. She remarked that he sometimes acted like a child, which was why Song Pil-jun kept him around, finding him easy to manipulate. The cable car arrived, and they both stepped inside. But just as it was about to depart, Jeom-ja stepped back out, unwilling to let him wear his coat alone at the cold summit. Once again, Hee-yi was left behind by the woman he loved. The next day, Song Pil-jun assigned Hee-yi to handle a case involving inheritance law revisions. He recalled Jeom-ya's words, "Be careful." Hee-yi discovered that Song Pil-jun was interacting with Sun Jin-soo's father, Sun Bong-yu. It turned out the two cunning men were scheming to amend the inheritance law. Song Pil-jun sensed something was troubling Sun Bong-yu, guessing it was a woman problem, and offered his assistance whenever needed. Ju-ho, tasked with investigating a case, visited the law firm to retrieve documents. Jae-yoon informed him that Young Chun-soo had visited the firm after his release from prison. Upon hearing this, Ju-ho hurriedly left, passing by Hee-yi. The lawyers' meeting commenced. The powerful figure behind Isum Pharmaceuticals, the leader of Trinity Church, Baek Hee-jun, was skilled in brainwashing. She used the name of God to control the minds of her church members. Her son, the CFO of Isum Pharmaceuticals, managed the company's finances. In addition, Baek Seung-hyun also served as the legal representative for another company. Hearing this, Jeom-ja had a sudden realization. Religions were generally not entirely clean and were likely to have vulnerabilities. After the meeting, Min-ju invited Jeom-ja to dinner. The two powerful women sized each other up. Min-ju wanted to recruit her. Shrewdly, Jeom-ja didn't give an immediate answer, preferring to observe the situation first. Hee-yi reported to Song Pil-jun that Isum Pharmaceuticals' new drug was effective against Amber's disease. Upon hearing this, Song Pil-jun immediately began formulating a plan. The next day, Jeom-ja discovered that Baek Hee-jun's family information was incomplete. She and Hyun-ah went to the church. They both gave their business cards to Baek Hee-jun. Cleverly, Jeom-ja mentioned she had met her children. Reflexively, Baek Hee-jun assumed Jeom-ya was referring to her daughter. She complained that her daughter was unrepentant. Jeom-ja immediately realized that this mention of her daughter could be a breakthrough. So, she played along, continuing the conversation. Hyun-ah, beside her, understood Jeom-ya's tactics. After praying, Baek Hee-jun warned Jeom-ya and Hyun-ah not to be fooled by her daughter. Apparently, her daughter had repeatedly sought lawyers to sue her for confinement and abuse, but the statute of limitations had expired. she told Jeomja not to waste her time. Impressed that their target hadn't revealed anything directly, Hyuna admired Jeomja's skill in extracting so many clues in such a short time. Jeomja discussed the case with Hyuna, instructing her to contact Baek Eun-mi privately first. Hyuna found Baek Eun-mi at an internet cafe and offered her a business card. Baek Eun-mi disdainfully threw it away. Hyuna picked up the card, feigning arrogance. If this wasn't necessary for the case, she would never give her card to someone like you. Before leaving, Hyuna told Baek Eun-mi she could call anytime. As for the fee, she would offer her services pro bono. Afterward, Hyuna went to a corner and patted her chest in relief. Worried about Jeomja, Joo-ho sought out Young Chun-soo. After a long imprisonment, he finally understood how they had framed him. Joo-ho had bought the knife, and Jeomja, holding his hand, had lunged towards herself, feigning victimhood to put him in jail. Joo-ho grabbed Young Chun-soo by the collar, warning him not to spread rumors or he would eliminate him. Young Chun-soo told Joo-ho to relay a message to Jeomja. She must seek his forgiveness for her sins, or God would punish her. Kevin Young visited the law firm looking for Jeomja. It turned out he had given her flowers, but she hadn't reacted. Uninterested in such gestures, Jeomja confronted him directly. While outwardly expressing interest in acquiring Isum Pharmaceuticals, he was secretly plotting something else. Kevin Young admitted she was half right. As she was about to probe further, Hee appeared. Ignoring him, Jeomja asked Kevin Young if he wanted to date her or sleep with her. He immediately confessed his desire to date her. Treated as invisible, Hee left. Sipping her drink, Jeomja had no intention of dating Kevin Young. Hee went to the parking lot. Joo-ho approached him, introducing himself and mentioning Young Chun-soo's imprisonment and release. Joo-ho wanted to put him back in jail. He made no mention of Jeomja and even told Hee to keep her in the dark about the matter. Hee seized the opportunity to ask him about Jeomja's past. He learned that she grew up in an orphanage, witnessing her father frequently beating her mother. Jeomja had suffered similar abuse. The pain was so severe that she had once contemplated jumping off a building. Hearing this, Hee was heartbroken. In the following meeting, everyone shared information. Baek Hee-jun's confinement of her daughter, and how, after the new drug was discontinued, her devout followers had sold it on the black market. It would be difficult to pursue a case based on illegal trading. At that moment, Baek Eun-mi arrived. Jeomja dismissed everyone else, keeping only Hyuna in the meeting room. She then roughly grabbed Baek Eun-mi's arm, revealing the self-inflicted scars on her body. Baek Eun-mi called Jeomja crazy. She pulled her shirt down to reveal a burn scar on her shoulder. Jeomja said, "Both of you are wanderers, but I won't dwell on the past." Baek Eun-mi conceded defeat. Hee peeked in from the doorway, his eyes filled with pity. Eun-mi explained that she'd sought out numerous lawyers, but once they learned the statute of limitations had expired, no one wanted to take her case. She'd heard they might be able to help her through other means. Jeomja asked about her client's resolve. Baek Eun-mi firmly replied, "I must sue." After finishing work, Hee asked Jeomja to talk. He worried that taking Eun-mi's case would stir up painful memories for her. She, however, felt he was meddling. With that, Jeomja walked away. Hee called out her real name from behind. Annoyed, she turned back and told him his concern was unnecessary. She would remove all obstacles, including overcoming her own heartache. After a few interactions, Hyuna had become Jeomja's biggest fan. After the lawsuit was prepared, she even gave Jeomja a fist bump of encouragement. Jeomja took the lawsuit to Eun-mi, assuring her that Hai-run would be humiliated and forced to apologize. Ultimately, she would get her a large settlement. Jeomja was brimming with confidence. She would attack like a hound and tear Baek Hee-jun apart. No sooner had she spoken than Jeomja arrived at Baek Hee-jun's religious gathering with a stack of lawsuits. She tossed them into the air, ensuring every follower got one. Seeing the lawsuit regarding his daughter's assault, Baek Hee-jun started making excuses, blaming his foolish daughter for not following his teachings. Apparently, all she had to do was obey, eat, sleep, and pray, but she wouldn't listen. Furthermore, the statute of limitations had expired, and Jeom-ya had no evidence, making a direct legal approach difficult. Jeom-ya had secretly uncovered Baek Hee-jun's slush fund, but she wasn't one to be easily trifled with. She'd guessed that Jeom-ya was targeting her. Jeom-ya offered her a deal: compensate her daughter and sell her the shares of Isum Pharmaceutical at market value, and she'd drop the lawsuit. Conveniently, the reporter Jeom-ya had contacted earlier arrived, serving as a preemptive strike against Baek Hee-jun. If she didn't agree, her clandestine activities would be made public. After being scolded by Jeom-ya, Hee-yi went to a bar to unwind and ran into Jo-hap and Yumai. They flirted openly in front of him. Lonely, Hee-yi wanted to leave. Yumai stopped him, asking when he was getting back together with Jeom-ya. It turned out Jo-hap couldn't keep a secret, sharing everything with Yumai, even mentioning Kevin Young, Hee-yi's rival. Hee-yi offered a cursory explanation and left the bar. The next day, Hee-yi and his colleagues discussed issues related to the inheritance law case. Chang-wook thought the new regulations were too favorable to the Keeballs and might not be approved. Hee-yi argued that this was what the firm's VIP clients expected, and they had to deliver. The basic plan was to have lawmakers support the inheritance law revisions that benefited the Keeballs, and in return, the Keeballs would help those lawmakers advance their careers. A mutually beneficial arrangement where everyone got what they wanted. Jeom-ya had lunch with Jae-yoon, confidently waiting for Baek Hee-jun's call. She was certain Baek Hee-jun wouldn't let the lawsuit proceed. As expected, the call came. Jeom-ya didn't answer immediately, letting it ring, increasing Baek Hee-jun's anxiety. By the time Baek Hee-jun, driven by impatience, appeared before her, Jeom-ya had achieved her goal. Baek Hee-jun signed the settlement agreement, agreeing to compensate her daughter and transfer the Isum Pharmaceutical shares at market value. Min-ju visited her father, Ha Chan-ho, also known as Chairman Ha. She wanted to sell the Isum Pharmaceutical shares to him, on the condition that he pay double what Eon had offered. She also demanded that he abandon Song Pil-jung and partner with her. Naturally, the cunning Chairman Ha wouldn't readily form an alliance. He said he needed to assess their strength before making a decision. Kevin Young signed the merger contract at the law firm, and everyone applauded him. Jeom-ya met with Baek Un-mai, telling her to sign the settlement and wait for the money to arrive. Kevin Young invited Jeom-ya to dinner. She talked incessantly about work, only to have him seriously propose they date. She responded bluntly, "I'm not interested in anything I can't control." Kevin Young looked at her, intrigued. She was certainly an interesting woman. The next day, Min-ju summoned Kevin Young to her office. She offered double the market price for Isum Pharmaceutical. Kevin Young raised an eyebrow at the offer. This price? He wasn't quite satisfied. At that moment, Song Pil-jung texted him, wanting to discuss the acquisition as a businessman. Naturally, he intended to compare offers and partner with whoever presented the best deal. Kevin Young excused himself. Jeom-ya gestured dramatically, saying, "Song Pil-jung is being generous. Min-ju seems a bit stingy in comparison." Later, Jeom-ya passed by Hee-yi's office and invited him to watch a live online drama unfold. The news reported Baek Hee-jun's donation to families with children battling cancer. Then, Baek Un-mai appeared, donating all the settlement money from her mother to the fund and exposing the physical abuse she suffered to the media, forcing her mother to flee in disgrace. Song Pil-jung dined with Kevin Young. He pointed out, "If you transfer Isum Pharmaceutical now, you'll only make 3 to 4 times your investment." Song Pil-jung proposed, before the merger, expand by acquiring a new company researching Alzheimer's treatments. Chairman Ha will make the connection. That way, you'll see a tenfold return. He explained, Chairman Ha is someone he serves, but not his master. He only collaborates with those who are worthy. Linan's proposed changes to the inheritance law were met with attacks from extremists. Jiamjia worried about He Yi upon hearing the news. He went to see Linan, urging him to continue trusting the law firm and not give up. However, Linan replied, "I need to see some hope before I can continue trusting you." Dejected, He Yi sought out Jiamjia, taking the glass of wine from her hand and drinking it in one gulp. At the same time, Jiamjia received a call from Ru, and He Yi received one from Song Pil-jung. When they arrived at the scene, Seo Young Hwa lay dead in a pool of blood, with Ha Chan-ho sitting beside her, his hands covered in blood. Jiamjia confirmed Seo Young Hwa's death and quickly stopped He Yi from calling the police. She wanted to assess the situation first. But Ha Chan-ho was incoherent, only saying, "I didn't do anything to Seo Young Hwa, I don't know anything else." Jiamjia covered the soles of her shoes with shower caps and examined the surroundings. She reconstructed the scene in her mind, photographed the chaotic room, and then allowed He Yi to call the police. The police arrived, taking Ha Chan-ho away. Jiamjia went to see Seo Young Hwa's lover, Ha Jun-ho, Ha Chan-ho's half-brother, to inform him of her death. Ha Jun-ho suspected Ha Chan-ho and wanted to confront him. Jiamjia calmed him down, asking, "Did you see Seo Young Hwa today?" Ha Jun-ho replied. She called, saying she'd resolve everything today, and then they'd leave the country together. He then broke down in tears. Chairman Ha instructed Song Pil-jung to manage the public's perception. Given the circumstances, only Ha he could take over the company. Song Pil-jung cautioned Chairman Ha to choose carefully, as Ha He's ambition was difficult to control. She wouldn't necessarily follow his orders. Song Pil-jung assured him he would groom Ha Jun-ho as the heir. Chairman Ha agreed. Jiamjia and He Yi exchanged information. Ha Chan-ho had previously suspected Seo Young Hwa's affair with his half-brother but lacked proof. He asked Jiamjia to investigate discreetly, emphasizing the need to keep the police in the dark, as it would be detrimental to Ha Chan-ho's case. He Yi informed her that the police had Seo Young Hwa's phone and would inevitably discover their love triangle. Jiamjia and the team analyzed the crime scene photos. She deduced that Seo Young Hwa died from a blow to the head. At the time, only Ha Chan-ho was present. To protect the privacy of VIP guests, the hotel had no surveillance cameras. He Yi suggested pursuing a manslaughter defense based on intoxication. Manslaughter carried a sentence of only 6 months to a year, with the possibility of a suspended sentence. Koo instructed everyone to maintain confidentiality to avoid unnecessary disputes. Mid-conversation, He Yi received a call from Song Pil-jung. News of Ha Chan-ho's arrest was already spreading across the media. Everyone in the meeting room sensed trouble. Ha Chan-ho met with Jiamjia, revealing he'd installed GPS tracking on Seo Young Hwa's phone. After a heated argument, she'd left home. He'd followed the tracker to the hotel, where they argued. He'd comforted her, pleaded with her, but she remained unmoved. He'd then drunk half a bottle of wine. He'd woken up to find her dead. But with his tolerance, that amount of alcohol shouldn't have rendered him unconscious. Koo warned Ha Chan-ho against mentioning the relationship between Seo Young Hwa and his brother, as it would only worsen his situation. Jiamjia then probed the police about Seo Young Hwa's phone. They claimed it only contained her communication history with Ha Chan-ho. So, she instructed He Yi to investigate the phone records further. He felt she was grasping at straws, unwilling to accept that Ha Chan-ho was the killer. But Jiamjia was determined to uncover the truth. Lee In-yeop spoke with Song Pil-jung. They analyzed Chairman Ha's predicament. Ha Chan-ho's arrest was creating negative publicity, and since Chairman Ha was a crucial supporter of Lee In-yeop's candidacy, it had cost him 15% in the polls. Song Pil-jung urged Lee In-yeop to think long-term and ensure the inheritance law revisions passed. Lee In-yeop pointed out the difficulty, given He Yi's father's opposition to the revisions. Song Pil-jung reassured him he would handle it personally. He Yi had a cordial phone conversation with his father. The unexpected call made He Yi suspect something was amiss, but his father claimed he was merely concerned about his son's well-being. Jian-ja worked late at the office. Jae-yoon expressed pity for Seo-young HWA, saying that since she couldn't contact her family, no one had claimed her body. Jae-yoon recognized Jian-ja's guilt-driven investigation and comforted her, saying it wasn't her fault. Jian-ja recalled contacting Seo-young HWA after meeting with Ha Chan-ho, informing her that he knew about her relationship with his brother. Guilt gnawed at her. She believed her disclosure had hastened Seo-young Hwa's decision to leave Ha Chan-ho, ultimately leading to the tragedy. The legal team began a new meeting, having obtained Seo-young Hwa's schedule for the day of the incident. She'd first gone to a friend's cafe, then to the pier, and finally to the hotel. Jian-ja went to the cafe to investigate. Jae-yoon was assigned to the pier, questioning staff about Seo-young HWA without any results. Chang-wook went to the hotel to check Seo-young Hwa's booking history. The hotel clerk initially refused, citing guest privacy, but Chang-wook threatened to expose his own affair, which had taken place in the hotel and been discovered by his wife. This successfully intimidated the clerk into providing the card transaction records. Seo-young Hwa's legal representative was listed as an art gallery, yet none of the employees recognized the name. Everyone was preoccupied with the case. Jay saw the headline "Fatal Love Triangle Involving Keyballs," detailing the alleged affair between Seo-young HWA and the Ha Chan-ho brothers. Jian-ja realized the gravity of the situation. This news provided a motive for Ha Chan-ho to intentionally eliminate Seo-young HWA. Ha Jun-ho met with He Yi, expressing his lack of confidence in inheriting his father's assets. He Yi, at Song Pil-jung's behest, met with Kevin Young, instructing him to back Ha Jun-ho. Now, the law firm, the Keyball, and Jinan were aligned. Jian-ja obtained the forensic report through R.Ho. While Ha Chan-ho wasn't a heavy drinker, he did have a habit of taking sleeping pills, traces of which were found in the test results. Jay considered Ha Chan-ho the prime suspect. Jian-ja explained that all evidence pointed to Ha Chan-ho. It was almost too convenient, prompting her to investigate further. This was the last thing she could do for Seo-young HWA. Song Pil-jung met with Chief Justice Trong En-yo, reminding him that his position was due to Song's support. He ordered Trong En-go not to oppose the inheritance law amendment, but the Chief Justice refused to cooperate. Seeing this, Song Pil-jung moved to undermine him, contacting someone to leak information that would drastically devalue Chairman Ha's company stock. Jian-ja received a call from Kevin Young and they met at a cafe. He inquired about the Ha Chan-ho case's progress. Jian-ja remained silent. Kevin Young produced documents that would tank Chairman Ha's stock price, instructing Jian-ja to deliver them to Yong-un. After reviewing them, Jian-ja refused. After she left, Kevin Young had his men deliver the documents to Yong-un's office. Back in her car, Jian-ja called He Yi. His number was on speed dial too, suggesting she still cared deeply for him. He Yi was drinking, trying to drown his sorrows. Seeing Jian-ja, he confessed his past, present, and future love for her, brightening her spirits slightly. Despite saying, "If you hate me, say you hate me," she admitted she didn't. Now, she worried about him because his father was about to be ruined. She urged him to stay strong and resolve the situation quickly. Chief Justice Trong En-yo would soon fall. His rulings consistently favored Chairman Ha's company, implying collusion. "And those documents will be delivered to Yong-un," she added. He Yi confronted Yong-un, determined to investigate thoroughly. He then conferred with Song Pil-jung, who told him to focus on his work and leave the matter to him. He Yi asked Song to suppress media coverage. The perfunctory agreement he received highlighted a shift in Song's attitude. Ha Chan-ho reviewed Chief Justice Trong En-yo's past rulings, noting his frequent meetings with Chairman Ha before trials. Suspicions mounted. Fortunately, Trong En-yo opposed the inheritance law amendment, but He Yi, handling the amendment, was unaware of this. Chang-wook noticed a discrepancy in the photos of the wine bottle. The picture showed the bottle knocked over on the table, half empty. Logically, wine should have spilled onto the carpet, but there were no stains. He surmised the scene might have been staged after the phone call. Jeom-ja met with Seo Young-hwa's friend, who confirmed a phone call between them but refused to divulge its content, intending to use the information as leverage. Ka shared her insights with Hee-yi. She suspected Seo Young-hwa had another phone. Through HM, they learned neither Ha Chan-ho nor Seo Young-hwa habitually used sleeping pills, yet traces were found in the wine at the scene. A third party likely introduced them. As they discussed the case, Hee-yi received a call from his brother. News about their father was exploding. Worried, Hee-yi stayed home with him. Late that night, lying on the sofa, he overheard his father call Song Kai-dong. After the call, his father said he needed some air. Seeing his father without a coat, Hee-yi grabbed one and rushed after him, only to witness his father step into the street and get hit by a car. Jeom-ya, upon hearing the news, rushed to the hospital. Hee-yi shared his suspicions about Song Pil-jung. To prevent Chief Justice Cho Eun-gon from blocking the inheritance law amendment, Song was willing to let Chairman Ha's stock plummet. She told him to focus on his father and not worry about anything else. The next day, Hee-yi informed Song Pil-jung about the accident. Song showed no surprise, as if he'd expected it. Hee-yi announced his intention to assemble a legal team for his father, but Song declared the firm wouldn't be involved. Finally seeing Song's true colors, Hee-yi left for the hospital. Everyone focused on the Ha Chan-ho case. Chang-wook obtained the hotel's surveillance footage, which Jae-yoon meticulously reviewed. Joo-ho went to the police station to inquire about the carpet from when he posed as an employee to retrieve transaction records. Song Kang met with Lin-on. With Cho Eun-gon no longer an obstacle, they just needed Lin-on's continued support to pass the inheritance law amendment. Noticing Jeom-ya in the restaurant, Song Kang brought up the Ha Chan-ho case, remarking on the debate between manslaughter and intentional homicide. Jeom-ja firmly disagreed. Song Kang's perspective assumed Ha Chan-ho's guilt, but too many questions remained. The deeper she dug, the more convinced she became of his innocence. Unfazed, Song Pil-jung ordered her to close the case and quell the unrest. Throughout their conversation, Jeom-ja observed Song's reactions, realizing his indifference to the case itself. Recognizing Jeom-ja and Hee-yi as obstacles, Song Kang called Ma Seok-gu, instructing him to report them to the Bar Association for disbarment. Ma Seok-gu then met with Jop, assigning him to the Ha Chan-ho case. Gi-hyuk, thrilled by the promotion, inquired about Jeom-ja and Hee-yi, the original lawyers. Ma Seok-gu claimed they were under investigation for ethical violations during Ha Chan-ho's divorce proceedings. He then ordered Jae to close the Ha Chan-ho case swiftly. Jeom-ja learned from Jae-yoon about the Bar Association investigation. Then, Young Chun-soo called, demanding a meeting or he'd come to her office. Troubles were piling up. After a scream of frustration, Jeom-ja went to Young Chun-soo's residence, ready to confront her past. She'd already died once as a child. Better to be assaulted by him and have him jailed than to be abused to death. She was no longer the same little girl. She would use a knife again if necessary, but this time against him, in self-defense. She warned Young Chun-soo to stay away from her. Next, she confronted Song Pil-jung to stop her investigation into Seo Young-hwa's death. He was trying to get her disbarred. If it came to this, pinning the crime on Ha Chan-ho wasn't about helping Chairman Ha, but about destroying him. Jeom-ja deduced that Song Pil-jung orchestrated the drop in Chairman Ha's stock price so Kevin Young could acquire the company. He feigned support for Ha Jun-ho's inheritance while subtly undermining Ha Chan-ho, removing him as a potential obstacle. Declaring war, Jeom-ja warned this was just the beginning. Things wouldn't go as Song planned. Yeon-mi celebrated Jop's promotion with a cake. Both anticipated Jop becoming a valued asset to the firm. However, he felt uneasy. His advancement stemmed from Jeom-ja and Hee-yee's investigation, not his merit. If they were cleared, he'd likely return to his previous position. Furthermore, he was a witness in their case, conflicted about revealing the truth. Yi, with his strong moral compass, reminded him of the importance of integrity. The disciplinary committee questioned Jeom-ya and Hee-yee separately about their alleged improper relationship and information sharing during Ha Chan-ho's divorce case. They admitted to dating, not an affair, and denied sharing information. Before the hearing, Jop confessed to Hee-yee that he'd testified Jeom-ja used him for the case, that they briefly dated and shared information. He couldn't resist the rare promotion, hoping it would catapult his career, but felt guilty enough to confess. Jeom-ja argued for merit-based success, with Hee-yee supporting her professional competence. The hearing concluded. Hee-yee predicted they'd be cleared under normal circumstances, but Song Pil-jung's interference could change that. Indeed, Ma Seok-gu pressured the Bar Association to make an example of Jeom-ya and Hee-yee to restore order within the legal community. At dinner, Han noticed the plummeting stock price, worrying about the company's future. Song Pil-jung reassured Chairman Ha of a quick recovery. Later, Chairman Ha expressed concern about Chief Justice Chong Eon revealing damaging information. Song Pil-jung argued that the disgrace of a judge becoming a defendant would prevent Chong Eon from implicating Chairman Ha, as it would invalidate his own past judgments. Pending the disciplinary committee's decision, Jeom-ja continued working. She theorized Seo-young HWA plan to sell the paintings she managed, preparing to flee the country. Jae-yoon pointed out Seo-young HWA only managed the art, she didn't own it. Jeom-ja concluded Seo-young HWA was using the art sales for money laundering. Jae-yoon suggested the sleeping pills might have been planted by hotel staff and was investigating the service company. Jae took over Ha Chan-ho's case, but the team still followed Jeom-ya's instructions until Jae ordered them to stop. The firm decided to pursue a manslaughter charge. This irresponsible conclusion deeply dissatisfied the team. After the meeting, Hyuna met with Hee-yee, offering him a few words of comfort before confessing her feelings. Smart and perceptive, Hyuna knew Hee-yee's heart didn't belong to her, but she told him that if he ever needed anything, she would do everything in her power to help. Hee-yee visited his father in jail and informed him that he would personally defend him in court, but only if his father was completely honest. His father's continued silence, despite the dire circumstances, infuriated Hee-yee. He questioned his father's loyalty to those above him, even now. However, he was relieved to learn his father had opposed the amendment to the inheritance law. He urged his father to tell the truth, accept responsibility for his wrongdoing, and promised to provide the best possible defense. Jeom-ya and Jae waited for the hotel housekeeper to return home. In the car, they analyzed the case. Jeom-ja suspected the police were the ones who leaked the information. She found their behavior suspicious. They arrived at the crime scene remarkably fast, as if they had prior knowledge of the incident. Finally, the housekeeper arrived. He flinched and ran as soon as someone called his name, a clear indication of guilt. Jeom-ja reconstructed Seo-young Hwa's timeline, discovering a gap between 8:40 and 9:40 p.m. However, the GPS on her phone was turned on and then off after 10 p.m., a time when Ha Chan-ho was drugged and incapable of using his phone. This suggested a third person at the scene who had taken the phone. Jae suddenly announced that Jeom-ja had been disbarred. Everyone had received the notification. Furious, Jeom-ja slammed her documents against the screen. Ha Hyo informed Chairman Ha that Ap Eon was acquiring a large number of their company's shares, news that shocked him. Despite this, he continued to trust Song Pil-jung. Ha Hyo warned her father that Song Pil-jung was an opportunist who only cared about his own position. After dismissing his daughter, Chairman Ha collapsed. Song Pil-jung received news of Chairman Ha's collapse while dining with Kevin Young. He was displeased that Kevin Young had revealed information about the prison to Jiam Ya. Kevin Young dismissed his concern, believing Jiam Ja wouldn't know the source of the information. However, Song Pil-jung understood Jiam Ya's tenacity. She would latch on to any lead and relentlessly pursue the truth. Jiam Ya and He Yi discussed Ha Chan-ho's case over drinks. Both were convinced a third party was present at the scene and had taken Seo Young Hwa's phone, likely the real culprit. Unexpectedly, other lawyers arrived at the bar, bringing company documents. Reviewing them, Jiam Ja discovered another person connected to Seo Young Hwa, Sun Bong-yu, Sun Jin-soo's father. He Yi followed Jiam Ja back to her rundown former law office. They prepared to support each other and face the upcoming challenges together. Jai met with Ha Chan-ho. He insisted on his innocence, but Jai evaded the issue, mentioning that acting under the influence could reduce the sentence to less than 10 years. Ha Chan-ho found this ludicrous and demanded to see Jiam Ya. Desperate, Jai knelt and begged Ha Chan-ho to trust the law firm. Both Jiam Ya and He Yi were suspended for 2 years. Refusing to be defeated, they prepared to file a complaint with the legal department. Jai Yoon redesigned the old law office in a vintage style. The resigned lawyers joined Jiam Ya's firm, filled with fighting spirit. The day of Ha Chan-ho's first trial arrived. Both Jiam Ya and He Yi attended. The initial trial concluded with Ha Chan-ho sentenced to 8 years for involuntary manslaughter. Defeated, he lowered his head and clenched his fists. Jiam Ya and He Yi approached Ha Chan-ho, their law firm agreeing to handle his appeal. Jai seemed confused, but Ha Chan-ho readily agreed, looking expectantly at Jiam Ja, who reassured him with a glance. After securing the case, the entire law firm team lined up and strode forward confidently. Jiam Ja and He Yi returned to the hotel where the incident occurred to search for evidence, wanting to confirm the supposed lack of security cameras. He Yi insisted on renting the same room Ha Chan-ho had occupied. He used his charm, even flashing a diamond ring, implying he planned to propose to his girlfriend that night. Impressed by Jiam Ja and moved by He Yi's story, the receptionist quickly checked them in. Jiam Ja meticulously examined the hallway and surrounding area. Inside the room, she revisited the night of the incident in her mind. She asked He Yi to push her onto the coffee table, but he deliberately caught her instead. She reasoned that the perpetrator would have injured their hand when hitting Seo Young Hwa's head against the table, but Ha Chan-ho's hand only had ketchup on it, no wounds. Furthermore, there were no stains on the carpet, suggesting it had been replaced. Dragging a body and a carpet would require at least 2 strong individuals working in close proximity to avoid detection. Feigning a germ phobia, Jiam Ja found a speck on a glass and began criticizing the room's cleanliness, demanding to switch to the room opposite. This room, however, was a special suite reserved year-round for a specific guest. Recalling Chang Wook's discovery of Sun Bong-yu's dedicated room in the hotel, Jiam Ja became even more demanding, dramatically taking a seat on the sofa. Exasperated, the hotel staff finally agreed to let them use the room for 2 hours. Inside Sun Bong-yu's room, Jiam Ya discovered a new carpet, still with its tags. During dinner, they discussed the case, recalling Seo Young Hwa's art dealings. Their investigation pointed to the hotel as the primary transaction location, but artwork was only displayed in Sun Bong-yu's suite. Jiam Ja speculated that Seo Young Hwa managed Sun Bong-yu's art collection, which likely served as a slush fund. Using art to conceal illicit funds was a common practice among Korean keeballs. After dinner, Jiam Ja falsely claimed to have lost her ring and requested access to security footage. The staff insisted there were no cameras on that floor. He Yi then threatened to call the police. Panicked, the staff revealed the existence of hidden cameras in the hallway. Jiam Ja decided to have Jai investigate the footage through the security company. Back at their law office, He Yi found Song Pil-jung waiting. He wanted information about Ha Chan-ho's appeal. He Yi told him to be direct. Song Pil-jung explained that initially preventing the firm from taking his father's case was to avoid suspicion and rumors of collusion, subtly advising Hee-yi to stay out of it, claiming the law would provide justice for his father. No longer fooled, Hee-yi criticized Song Pil-jung's callousness. Song Pil-jung expressed disappointment in Hee-yi, whom he had mentored, for achieving so little. Angered, Hee-yi ordered him to leave. Jeom-ja visited Hyun-a, seeking her help with the prison case due to being short-staffed. Hyun-a confessed her feelings for Hee-yi, but Jeom-ja confidently encouraged her to pursue him. The lawyers gathered at a barbecue restaurant, and Jeom-ja brought Hyun along. They enjoyed a lively and celebratory evening together. The next day, Jae-yoon prepared hangover soup for Jeom-ja and Hee-yi. While having soup, Jeom-ja received a call about the security guard, Jo-ho-ho. The police had confiscated the hotel's security footage hard drive. Jo-ho-ho had quit his job a few days prior and had also moved out of his apartment. Jeom-ja ordered her team to use all their connections to track him down, emphasizing the importance of capturing him. Jeom-ja met with Min-ju at a bar. Min-ju revealed that Chairman Ha had introduced her sister to Song Pil-jung. While they appeared affectionate initially, Song Pil-jung's true colors emerged after her parents died and he inherited the law firm. Her sister had been in a coma for 15 years. Min-ju suspected Song Pil-jung deliberately delayed her sister's medical treatment, missing the crucial window for recovery. She had also discovered that while Song Pil-jung visited his wife weekly, feigning devotion, he secretly filed for divorce. Min-ju then urged Jeom-ja to join forces and help Ha Chan-ho save his company from Kevin's takeover. Sun Bong-yu met with Song Pil-jung to discuss the artwork in his possession. Uncomfortable with keeping the paintings, he instructed Song Pil-jung to sell them at a high price and use the proceeds to support Linon's election campaign. Song Pil-jung readily agreed. He then ordered Masak-gu to send Jok to the warehouse to verify the items and deliver the inventory to Ap-eon. Jok complained to Yu-mai about being relegated to warehouse management. Yu-mai, empathizing with his frustration, pointed out that the company never valued him and intended to discard him after using him. She then suggested Jop reach out to Hee-yi and Jeom-ja. Following this, Gi-hyuk approached Hee-yi, revealing that during his investigation at the port with Jeom-ja, he had discovered a secret container filled with artwork purchased by Sun Bong-yu from Seo Young-hwa's gallery. Jok confessed to Hee-yi that his guilt over mishandling Ha Chan-ho's case had driven him to uncover this information. He expressed his desire to collaborate, and Hee-yi agreed. Jae and Jae-yoon took the security footage to the cleaning company for verification. The company confirmed that the person in the video was not their employee, despite the hotel's exclusive contract with them. Hee-yi and Hyun-an analyzed Chung and-gon's case. He revealed his father's intention to confess everything, exposing the intricate connections between the Keeballs, the law firm, and Linon, aiming to bring down Song Pil-jung. Jeom-ja comforted Hee-yi, acknowledging the difficulty of his decision to sacrifice himself for the greater good. He explained that he chose this path to protect his family's honor, admitting that confessing to mistakes was harder than making them. Jeom-ja praised his courage, offering words of encouragement. Fighting, Hee-yi. Curious about what Jeom-ja had said during her interrogation, Hee-yi asked. She replied, "I told them I love you." Hee-yi tried to suppress a smile, his face betraying his happiness. On the day of Chung and-gon's trial, Song Pil-jung received a call informing him that Ha Chan-ho would testify. All the lawyers attended the trial. The judge asked, "Is Song Pil-jung present?" As Hee-yi was about to answer no, Song Pil-jung entered. The judge rose to greet him, then quickly sat down, realizing his overreaction. Everyone was surprised by Song Pil-jung's appearance. Hee-yi began his questioning. During Song Pil-jung's questioning, with his persistent denials and claims of memory loss, Hee-yi had no choice but to present the court interpreter's statement. which clearly documented the time and content of the conversation between him, Song Pil-jung, and Sun Bong-yu. Unexpectedly, the judge requested the exclusion of this testimony, citing the need for verification of its reliability. Song Pil-jung directly challenged the interpreter. Did you pressure the judge in the initial trial? Did you deliver a verdict against your conscience during the appeal? The interpreter stood and replied in the negative. He looked at his father in astonishment as the interpreter continued. My decisions were entirely based on my conscience. After the trial concluded, the interpreter told He that this was the best option. He was deeply disappointed in his father. No one is perfect. How could he never make a mistake? Since childhood, he had taught his children that admitting mistakes was more important. Yet now he contradicted his own teachings. Whether as a judge or a father, he fell short. He returned to the law office, telling Bo-young to forget the past to divert his attention. She then delivered shocking news. On the day of the hotel incident, there was a gathering of the Business Federation, which Sun Bong-yu attended, even staying overnight in a VIP room. This suggested that Seo-young Hwa likely met with Sun Bong-yu that day to discuss the sale of the painting, planning to run away with Jae-yoon after receiving the money. Next, she prompted He. If Sun Bong-yu were to assault someone, who would be the first person he'd contact? He reacted as he always did in such situations, his first instinct being to call Jium-ya. Therefore, Sun Bong-yu would likely contact his lawyer, Song Pil-jung. Coincidentally, on the day of the incident, surveillance footage captured a white car registered to Song Pil-jung's comatose wife. He, invigorated, prepared to confront Song Pil-jung. He and Jium-ja went to the law firm, finding Song Pil-jung shaving, and even noticing his specific razor. After showing him the images extracted from the surveillance footage, He asked, "What were you doing at the hotel that day?" Song Pil-jung denied everything, coldly asking them to leave. Seeing his unease, He, recognizing his apprehension, stood up and declared a showdown in the parking garage. After receiving a text message, Jium-ja said she had something to take care of, telling He to go back without her. He suspected the message was from Young Chun-soo and worried about her, but she didn't want him involved. He called Ju-ho, asking him and Jium-ja to go to Young Chun-soo's location. He called Jium-ja, urging her to wait for him and absolutely not to meet with Young Chun-soo alone. As Jium-ja answered the phone and walked towards the door, a figure emerged from the shadows, lunging at her with a knife. Jium-ja swiftly grabbed the blade with one hand and pulled off the attacker's hood with the other, revealing his face. Fortunately, Young Chun-soo, having stepped out momentarily, returned just in time. The attacker tried to flee but was stopped by Young Chun-soo, who began preaching, urging him to seek God's forgiveness. The attacker, unmoved, stabbed Young Chun-soo in the stomach. He arrived to find both of them injured. Jium-ja pulled a pre-prepared note from inside her clothing, explaining that someone else had injured Young Chun-soo, urging He to call the police. Everyone rushed to the hospital. Jae-yoon ran to Jium-ja, crying uncontrollably. Fortunately, Jium-ya's injuries were minor, but Young Chun-soo was seriously wounded and remained in critical condition. After everyone left, Jium-ya told He that she had anticipated Young Chun-soo might try to silence her, which is why she had placed the note inside her clothing before getting out of the car. He, deeply concerned for Jium-ja, hoped she would never be hurt again. Unexpectedly, Jium-ja considered her wounds a part of her past. She then began to ponder who might have wanted to harm her. Back home from the hospital, Jium-ja stubbornly refused to let He stay with her. That night, she suffered from nightmares, reliving Young Chun-soo's abuse from her childhood. Awakening from the nightmare, Jium-ja screamed in terror. He, waiting outside, rushed in to check on her. Exhausted, Jium-ja leaned against him for protection. She and he, crammed together on the small, cramped bed, face to face, drifted off to sleep. In the meeting room, Hyuna meticulously analyzed the case. Based on the current evidence, they couldn't prove Seo Young Hwa knew Sun Bong-yu. Even if they obtained the security footage, it only covered one side of the hallway, providing an incomplete picture. The only key piece of evidence was Seo Young Hwa's missing phone. Hee Yi handed the evidence file to Yang Un, the detective in charge of Ha Chan-ho's case. He had previously covered up evidence and accepted bribes, then resigned and disappeared. Yang Un, a man of integrity, unwilling to falsely accuse an innocent person, agreed to help Hee Yi investigate. Yi Jun located the hotel employee who served Seo Young Hwa on the day of the incident at the internet cafe. The employee stated that Seo Young Hwa had ordered alcohol and sleeping pills. Jop also quietly contributed, telling the employee to quickly convert the money received from a pawn into cash. Jop immediately informed Hee Yi that a pawn's acquisition of Chairman Ha's company was making headlines. The money from the sale of the paintings became investment capital for Lee Anon. His approval rating had surpassed 30%. The current situation was that Sun Bong-yu, fearing Jiam-ya's investigation would lead back to him, wanted to dispose of the paintings in his possession, selling them to Kevin Young at a high price. The money earned could conveniently fund Lee in Yope's election campaign, while Kevin Young's takeover of Chairman Ha's company would create a favorable environment, using the paintings as a disguised form of support for Lee in Yope, forging connections. Hee Yi and Jiam-ja visited Sun Bong-yu together. They wanted to shake his resolve. Jiam-ja deliberately revealed a clue from the investigation that on the day of the incident, Sun Bong-yu had been in the opposite room. Sun Bong-yu showed signs of panic. Pressing her advantage, Jiam-ja lied about having Seo Young Hwa's call logs and questioned why Sun Bong-yu had silenced her. Sun Bong-yu fell into the trap, acting extremely unnaturally, hastily ushering them out. Hee Yi and Jiam-ja achieved their goal. Cracks had appeared in Sun Bong-yu's composure, and he was sure to contact Song Pil-jun. Would he disappear and be apprehended again? Hee Yi imitated Jiam-ya's working style. Waving papers randomly in front of him, he lied about having traced the bribery account. Jiam-ja brought him into her private office. Everyone gathered outside, craning their necks to eavesdrop. Jiam-ja produced a portrait of her attacker. The two men clearly didn't resemble each other, but Jiam-ja didn't care. The lighting had been dim that day. It was entirely possible to redraw another portrait based on his face and directly accuse him. This attempt failed, but then she received a call from the hospital. Young Chun-soo had died. Another failure, compounded by the guilt of having silenced someone. Lee Ut, unwilling to face jail time, agreed to hand over the hard drive he'd taken from the hotel. Leaving the office, Hee Yi was curious how Jiam-ja had managed to break Lee Ut. She replied that she had used her life and Young Chun-soo's life as leverage. Sun Bong-yu flew into a rage at the law firm, demanding that Song Pil-jun retrieve all the money earned from selling the paintings to Lee Anon. He wanted to handle the matter personally. Song Pil-jun, understanding Jiam-ya well, told him to calm down. The other side had nothing concrete and was deliberately provoking him. But Sun Bong-yu wouldn't listen, insisting on handling it himself. Song Pil-jun worried he would ruin everything. Slowly, he produced Seo Young Hwa's phone, which contained a recording of their conversation before her death. Indeed, Sun Bong-yu had silenced Seo Young Hwa. Song Pil-jun used this to threaten him, telling him to calmly wait for the lawyers to review the extracted video together. Seo Young Hwa had arrived first. An hour later, Ha Chan-ho arrived. Later, Jiam-ja went alone to the opposite room. A while later, a cleaning crew moved the blood-soaked carpet and Seo Young Hwa into Ha Chan-ho's room. After they finished, Song Pil-jun left Sun Bong-yu's room, paying the crew and taking Seo Young Hwa's spare phone. Anyone with eyes could see it was Song Pil-jun, but because the video didn't capture his face directly, they couldn't convict him. As everyone discussed the case, Jiam-ja realized the cleaner who interacted with Song Pil-jun was the same person who had attacked her. Hee Yi and Jop ate pizza together. Gi Hyuk guessed that Seo Young Hwa's phone and other evidence were in Song Pil-jung's private safe, but it was heavily secured, only accessible with his fingerprint. Jeom-ja appeared, instructing Jop to find a way to obtain Song Pil-jung's fingerprint. The next day, Jeom-ya attended the signing ceremony for App Eon's acquisition of Chairman Ha's company, while Hee-yi attended Ha Chan-ho's appeal hearing. They had to win today's battles. In court, Hee-yi showed the video from the hotel hallway, explaining to the judge that Seo Young Hwa had drugged Ha Chan-ho's drink, after which he fell into a deep sleep, completely unaware of anything. Seo Young Hwa's blood residue, as well as the blood on her hands and pajamas, resulted from her checking on her own condition. After Ha Chan-ho fell asleep, Seo Young Hwa went to the opposite room, and only after she died was her body moved back to Ha Chan-ho's room. Therefore, Ha Chan-ho was innocent. Jeom-ya, at the signing ceremony, told Song Pil-jung that Lut's account had received hundreds of millions under the name of his comatose wife. Jeom-jae snapped her fingers, and a prosecutor immediately rushed in to arrest Song Pil-jung for concealing Seo Young Hwa's body and destroying evidence. At that moment, Min-ju and Ha-hyun were forced to see Jeom-ja in a new light. Leaving the hall, Jeom-ja encountered Kevin Young. He asked her, if they hadn't met through work, would their relationship have been different? No, Jeom-ja replied. It was precisely because of work that they were able to meet. Song Pil-jung and Sun Bong-yu were held in adjacent interrogation rooms. Jeom-ja and Hee-yi had 30 minutes to question them. Jeom-ja interrogated Song Pil-jung, but the old fox, unfazed by the danger, completely denied being the person in the video. The SIA's forensic report indicated that while Seo Young Hwa appeared to have died from a fatal head wound, the actual cause of death was asphyxiation. Someone had covered her nose and mouth, and during her struggle, she had scratched the attacker, leaving their DNA under her fingernails. Ji had secretly entered Song Pil-jung's office to retrieve hairs from his shaving kit for testing. Hee-yi wanted to break down Sun Bong-yu's defenses. He told him that Song Pil-jung would surely shift all the blame onto him and find a way to escape. In his panic, Sun Bong-yu confessed that Seo Young Hwa had wanted to take his money and run, so he had eliminated her. He had then called Song Pil-jung, who told him to leave the scene and that he would handle the rest. The subsequent events were easy to infer. Seo Young Hwa regained consciousness and begged Song Pil-jung to save her. Instead, he suffocated her. Hee-yi and Jeom-ja emerged from the interrogation rooms. Finally, the perpetrators wouldn't escape justice. Back at the law firm, everyone prepared a celebratory party. NHU-mai also joined. Upon arrival, she embraced Jeom-ja, lamenting her tragic past as an orphan and victim of abuse, going on and on, causing everyone to freeze, lower their chopsticks, and look at Jop. Finally, they toasted in a warm and cheerful atmosphere. Jeom-ya and Hee-yi looked up at the towering building. With the verdict overturned, their suspensions had been revoked. Whether she was adopted or abandoned, Jeom-ya had always come here to look at this building. It had represented something terrifying to her. Why not just buy it, make it her own, and erase the bad memories? From now on, acquiring this building would be her goal. With that thought, she felt she could endure any hardship. The two encouraged each other, moving forward towards the future. And then, they walked down the street, holding hands, embracing each other.